when, I know, Chris, I think I yelled at you, and I'm sorry, when the subject came up that there were residents that, I think you said, like, oh, well, everybody should know about this by now. And I just want to say that I run into people a lot that either A, have no idea about it, or B, have been fed wrong information about it. Like there's just this group of 30 or 40 people up on the mountain that are just raising this big stink. And so, to Myrna's point last week, I think we really need to get this information to all the residents somehow, even if it's a postcard that has a website, and if you don't have a computer, a phone number that you could call, so that, I really think there's a lot of people that really don't understand the issue. So that was the one point that I wanted to make. Another point is that in the experts' report, I know you guys are leaning toward one way, capping the whole thing, but there were so many points in each option that the experts said, Mazur said, they didn't have the information for. There was a lot of missing information. So I'm for trekking it out. At the beginning of this whole thing, I really wasn't, but the more I learned about this, and with all these, you have so many people here doing so much research, and the more I read and the more I read, I don't get it. I really don't get why this is not going to be trucked out. And I think the core sample thing, that really bothers me. I don't understand why there has not been core samples. I mean, for crying out loud, don't you want to know what's in it? It just...
We took the NJDEP to court to try to get those samples. We first asked them for it, and they would not supply it to us, and then we took them to court.
I know, but I thought this was all taken care of, or somebody mentioned that in this emergency order, you guys can go on the property and get core samples.
The judge thought differently.
Yeah.
The judge disagreed. That's our argument.
So the judge has say over the emergency order? I don't understand that.
The person that signed the emergency order took us to court and told the judge that they disagreed with our interpretation and that they felt it would slow down the project. And the judge agreed.
I don't know. I think there's a lot more that can be pursued there too, as a lot of other people have already said. The other thing I want to say is just from an emotional level, I know Kathy Panetta had said she had relayed to you the example of the study that was handed to her when she went through some medical problems. They expected her to make a decision on a study that was just on 10 people, and she didn't go with it. She did her own research, and she decided she was going to do what she felt was best, and she now is alive, and all those 10 women in that study are not alive. And the same thing happened with my son. I have a son who went through a kidney transplant when he was 11 and a half months old, and then just in 2010 he had a type of lymphoma, a very rare type of lymphoma in post-transplant patients. It's called PTLD, post-transplant lymphoproliferative disease, and there's very little information about it. And we were handed very little information to go over and make a decision. And my husband and I and my son, he was an adult at the time. He had just turned, I think he was 19. And a team of doctors, an oncologist and an infectious disease person, and we all got together and we all made a decision together. And he went through 5 months of chemo and he's fine. And I just think that you have so many people here who are doing so much research, and I also feel that there's just too much pressure from the governor. As a matter of fact, on that one video that they were playing for you before, I believe that was from the Fairfield town hall meeting. There was another one, the Long Hill Township town hall meeting that was prior to that. He lied on that one too, because Myrna had stood up and said that she had moved out here, and there was they were trying to consider whether they wanted to have children or not, and because of the health issues that existed, they were having reservations. And he stood there, the governor stood there and said, there's no health issues. And that is wrong. That is absolutely wrong. I've run into, I don't know how many people that are really sick from this. So that's another, they're both on YouTube.
I'll take a look.
Both of those videos are on YouTube. So there's two different instances that he's lying about our township. And so I really I just urge you and plead with you to please rally behind us and join with all these people and take all the information they have and, you know, help us. Thank you.
Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? No.
Bill Marato, Lazarus Drive in Ledgewood. I may go over my 3 minutes by a little bit, and I just appreciate
No problem. We have been very flexible.
the courtesy. The question was asked why the methane is important, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm just going to read about 4 sentences from this report. And basically, high levels of methane were found along the border of the Poets Peak development. And according to this transcript, this is what it says. Mr. Bucco asked, what does the presence of methane gas mean? Mr. Confer explained as follows. The fact that methane can explode at levels between 7 and 80%. He said any spark could explode the methane gas. He cited an example in Ocean County landfill where a building was destroyed by an explosion. And then it goes on to say that another gentleman, Mr. Elias, suggested that approximately 12 houses in Poets Peak, which are situated along the border of the landfill, be tested immediately for vapor intrusion. So the issue that I see is that I don't think that testing was ever done, and that testing may have been, this is back from 2012, the responsibility of SEP, but now the DEP has control of the site, and there may be potential hazards with the methane, and I don't see them doing anything. So the importance of this is that I don't think we could trust the DEP is really doing everything that they should be doing to protect us while they're on that site.
All I can say is we're going to look at this information. We're just started talking about this tonight. We'll get our hands on it as soon as possible, and just look at the whole report and then go from there.
And again, I think it behooves us to take a look at that report, and we get that off to the ATSDR as well too. So as you know, that's one of the things they will come out and recommend testing for is methane, should they see that there's elevations or concerns about it. So I agree.
I understand that, but we have an agency that's moving full force ahead, and unless we try to basically put the project on hold, I'm not saying stop them. I don't want to completely stop them, but hey, I mean the levels aren't bad now. They're lower than the state legal limit. They have a mitigation system going. They're going to connect some more wells. It should improve even more. I don't think it's unreasonable to say we have a lot of testing that we still would like to do. We have this health report coming out that's going to make a lot of recommendations. Should we put everything on hold for a few months until we find the solutions? Because I think once this thing is capped and done, you may find information that is going to tell you that wasn't the best idea.
It's a good point. And were you copied on the letter to Ed Putnam from the?
Yes, I was.
Okay. So in essence, they're reaching out to Ed Putnam to discuss this with him as well too. And it may be that their position is something similar to what you're suggesting as well too. I don't have the timeline in front of me either, but this is the timeline from the CAP when the DEP was talking about beginning and initiating the CAP. But if I'm not mistaken, it was going to be fall, winter.
Yeah.
So
later in the year.
Yeah,
So.
much later in the year. So I don't know how that fits in, but a timeline could be put together to see that they're not in there making permanent. And this is, council's always taken that position in regards to making sure that there's no permanent issues in there until all the studies are done. And this would be one of those.
They are going to be starting to truck in material. I mean, those trucks could be taking material out. Those trucks are going to start, I think, in June.
June, July.
Well,
June, July.
what is remember, they're doing the tows first.
Right.
So I think that's the material that you're talking about, is they're coming in with some material on the tows as well too. So their cover, they made it very specific that they didn't want to start to cover in the warm, hot weathers because they didn't want to disturb what's supposed to be the posi shell when they come back.
And in
out
fact,
of
they
the-
actually haven't got out to bid yet for the capping job.
Okay, so, and if I know the DP, it'd take them about quite a while to actually get the bids out.
Okay. I'm just going to end with, this is my observation, which, may or may not reflect my personal opinion. My observation of what I've seen here, my observation of a lot of the residents' concerns. Basically we have a department that's not cooperating with the township. The fact that they won't allow the core sampling to me is very suspect. What's in the pile that they don't want people to see? Is that the reason why they don't want it trucked out? Because that would potentially identify the material as well. I don't know the answer to that, but that's something that I think needs to be addressed. Number two, they refuse to share information with you. How long have we been trying to get these stack tests? I mean, it's ridiculous. We've been breathing. Who knows what we've been breathing? We can't even get access to these smokestack tests.
Well, you do have them in. You do finally after 6 months.
We have them?
Yeah, that's what, yeah, they're
Yeah, that's what we're
This
discussing.
is the one report we have.
We're just
Okay.
discussing that.
Okay, so we'll take a
That's
look at
as
it.
of this week.
And I guess like the last thing is, and this may come to a surprise to you, but I'm not upset that you didn't choose to truck it out. And you may be surprised. I'm upset that you made a decision based on incomplete information. And, everyone seemed to be unanimous, and I'm talking about all of you folks up there. But isn't it odd that 95 or 99% of the residents that showed up to the meeting 2 weeks ago opposed that? And I'm not saying that they wanted it trucked out. I think that most of them probably opposed the fact that a decision was made. So just the numbers don't make sense. You have 99% of a body thinks one way, and then you have all of you that are kind of agreeing on another way. And there's so many unknowns. There's the core sampling, and people keep saying that they think removing the material is going to be dangerous. However, I haven't seen any factual evidence that suggests that removing the material would be dangerous. I can't find a study where it was tried and failed. I can't even find a computer simulation or a model or a calculation that someone would show me. All I see is people's opinions. I see expert opinions. I see expert theories that are not backed up by any sort of engineering calculations. And for all we know, they said the Softwood field was 60% dirt. 80% of this landfill may be 60% dirt. We won't know that until we do the core sampling. So that's a big unknown. And you can't discount the softwood material because, as far as I recollect, a lot of that material that excavated was on fire and smoldering. If that isn't as much of a hazard as letting H2S gas off, I don't know what is. You have smoke, you have airborne particulates that are dangerous to human lungs. You have gases decomposing into other gases. The hydrogen sulfide is now SO2, that's not scrub. So just the fact that there was only maybe 1% wallboard in that material, this material was on fire and smoking, and they're hauling this stuff out. That can't be discounted. And last, I just want to say that what Angela had brought up, there's so many unknowns with what the DEP is doing. We don't even know who's going to own the site. We don't know who's going to pay for it. They never said the goals that they have. Are they going to reduce the odors, eliminate the odors? How bad does it have to get in the future for them to come back? How long do you want to do this? How long do we have to keep coming here?
We never wanted to do it, though.
I know we don't, but I'm just saying that solution, if that isn't motivation to explore a more permanent solution, I don't know what is. Because you have a department that's not cooperative, and you have a solution that doesn't hold any water. We don't know who's going to pay for it. We don't know what type of modifications it's going to need down the road to safely protect us, and who's going to be willing to do it. How bad does it have to get for that to happen? How many times do we have to go back to Trenton to say, hey, the thing you fix in Roxbury needs more attention? And I think that's why we're all here, is we're concerned about the future. We're concerned about the reliability of the scrubber. It's broken down in the past month 2 or 3 times. We're concerned about our property values because we have an operating landfill in our backyard. And I want to give this to you. And this is what I'm going to end with. I have information here from a licensed appraiser in Roxbury. And the median sales price in Roxbury over the past year is down 2%. The median sales price in Morris County was up 4%, And there's adjoining towns to Roxbury that are up 2 to 10% over the past year. And you can't discount that.
Well,
It's because of this issue here.
Well, also, we had a licensed real estate appraiser, as I said at the last meeting, look at it as well too. And that information is on the information table. You should take a look at that. It lists all the home sales, all the listed price, how many days it was on the market, and what the actual sale price was. The actual sale price came in at 96% of the asking price, which is very comparable to the level.
I agree with that, but that doesn't mean a thing if the sale price is lower than it was last year.
Well, you have to, that's why you look at the comps as well too.
Right, so what I'm saying is that I don't care if people are getting the prices, because eventually they're gonna lower their price to the point where they could sell. What I care about is, what was it worth last year, and what is it worth this year? And the data is showing that Roxbury's down 2%.
I'll give it to our assessor to take a look at.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, the rest of the county is up. So I think that's what we're concerned about, and I'm gonna end with that. You know, we're concerned about, this is gonna just follow us forever. There's always gonna be issues with it. And if we could find a way to truck this out, and I'm confident we can, I don't think that we've really done enough homework, it's just gonna be done. You'll be done. So please consider that.
Bill, I won't get into answering all the questions because I don't remember 90% of them already. But there is one thing I would like to say is, who's going to pay for it? Right now, we have the one person that probably has the ability to pay for it, short of a private individual coming in and starting up the dump again. Because we know if it becomes a super fund site or anything like that, there's no money at the federal level that's going to come in here. You know, the county and the township can't do it. So there's only really two funding sources, DEP or a private individual. And obviously you know what the situation is with the private individual because we just went through that hell.
Or federal funds. FEMA, Hurricane Sandy funds.
Well, DEP is saying it's not a Sandy issue, so without the request put in for it.
But I mean, you say, but you say who's going to pay.
I'm not trying to get into.
I understand. I don't want to get into it either. But just leave with this. You say who's going to pay for it, but they're spending $8 million. According to Macer, it's going to be, at least for the first year, $4.5 million of maintenance costs, and then it should go down from there. But it's not going to be zero. So over the course of the lifetime, it's probably going to exceed the cost of trucking it out, and that's assuming you don't have any issues.
Because of the back end, I read it too. I read it the same way you did. I looked at the cost. That's why I didn't take cost as a factor.
Right.
Because I looked at the long term. Now maybe, you know, as Bob Zelli said, the cost may start going like this, and we don't know where that line is and how it goes down. So you know, it's not a fixed cost. But yeah, I looked at it.
And what happens if people's wells get contaminated? You're going to buy their houses out. You don't even know if it's from the material because they have no samples. If there's chromium in their wells or lead in their wells, is it from that material? Those people will never know. Those people's wells are hundreds of feet from the landfill.
And I would like you to remind folks, you know, that we continue to test all the wells for free.
Okay.
And let me tell you this.
And if once we have a contaminated well,
Then-
as bad as that is, the flip side is there are funds available for that in a
Absolutely
rather
correct.
quick way.
And that's
the problem.
And that's the other reason why I think that Mason needs to really, I mean, he made assumptions. I'm not saying his data was incorrect. I'm saying he made assumptions, and I think he needs to firm them up because I think he could find a place to take that material for a lot less than $95 a ton. That could cut the disposal fee in half. I gave him a lead, I never heard back. That would take it for $48 a ton.
Well, that goes back to my comment. If cost isn't a factor,
Well, it is a factor, but you said who's going to pay for it. So I'm saying that if you could, if that data is firmed up, you know, plus the weight that he used, the density he used was very aggressive. If you could bring that cost down and then show the real costs over the course of, say, 5 years, then cost may not be a factor. And then it's just a factor of saying, could we do it safely? And like I said, I don't think enough information has been provided. There's too many open assumptions out there to really say yes or no. I'm not upset that you're not saying truck it out today, but I'm upset that you're not pursuing it because there's so many unknowns and you've made a decision based on those unknowns, and I have a problem with that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the public?
Just a couple more questions. Do you know if, and I don't know if you can answer this, Mayor O'Reilly, because you're on the Highlands Council, but has the township gone to the Highlands Council to help out with the situation at all? Because the residents obviously went there.
Well, I can, as I've always said, I can act on behalf of the township, but I can't act on the other side. As you know, I stepped down both a few years ago and the other night. But I'm not sure where I want to draw the line right now. And I'm looking to Mr. Price. I think there was a determination last year, a letter, I'm trying to think of where that originated from, I don't know, about,
What you can do.
oh, I know what it was. It was the ANJAC put in a request to withdraw the HPAA waiver, and there was a determination that it would have no bearing on the site. That's only, again, I wasn't involved in that. That was a memo that I've seen.
And that was at the Highlands Council.
That was at the Highlands Council, based upon, again, Dave Piper. I think you know who he is.
So, but has the township done anything with the Highlands Council to try to get them to stop this or do anything about it? Or
I don't think we've
anything?
taken any action, but the determination's been that from the Highlands Council is that they have no jurisdiction over DEP, despite the paragraph that's been quoted.
There's a few different sections.
No,
there.
there's Wolf though too. Thinks he wrote it. But he made a determination, but every legal determination plus has been contrary to that.
Because we were there obviously on last Wednesday, and there was 10 residents that went. They made very emotional pleas to the council, and the council is considering what they can do to help out the situation. Actually, one of the council members actually apologized to Roxbury. I don't know if you were aware of that. It is up on the YouTube channel on React. See, it was I don't remember his name. I don't remember. Carl Richo?
Carl Richko?
Richko actually apologized to the township of Roxbury, and if they knew, if they had the forethought of or warning of what was going to happen, that they would have never supported it. And they're looking into what they can do to help. So, is any of the council going to come to the next Highlands Council meeting and come support the residents? Because I know there's going to be a lot of residents there. And are they going to speak out at the Highlands Council? I know you can't answer that, Mayor Riley, because now you're in a conflict of interest.
I didn't know that you folks went to the Highlands Council meeting.
We did.
Okay, just finding out about that right now. Okay, so what was your point there? Is that the Highlands Council can do what? They can provide an injunction, or, I mean, what are you asking?
We're not really sure what
I'm
they
just asking because I don't know. What are you asking them to do?
We're not really sure what they can do. I mean, technically, I'm not as familiar as a few of the other people are with the Highlands Council rules, but I know there's at least 4 or 5 of them in there that there's a possibility that the Highlands Council might be able to do something to, whether it's stop it, to send letters to the DEP, to tell them to adhere to the rules.
I mean, I'll just expand on what Bob said. They would basically, and I wasn't at this meeting, but just from listening to others, they would basically follow the law, which possibly would make the DEP's remediation follow the Highlands Act Regional Master Plan, which would give us a lot more input than it does now under the emergency order. And some residents have spoken to some attorneys who have given them advice that this is worth pursuing with the Highlands Council to see if they'd be willing to voluntarily get involved. And I think we'll find out at the next meeting if they will. But they think that there is some merit to the way the law is written, in that this closure plan, needs to be reviewed by the Highlands Council, and it needs to be approved, and it needs to follow the regional master plan. So that's what we're asking them to look into.
Maybe we could get a legal opinion, consulting. Jim heard your question.
Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? I'm sorry,
no.
I thought you were walking away. I'm sorry, Ted.
Thanks for that technical.
Mr. Rockridge.
I made a request at the meeting last week to have a formal hearing on Fenimore. Did you guys consider that at all? Have you talked about it?
No, but I have your memo with me this evening that I was going to give to Amy to disperse to the council members.
So next meeting, or you'll email me or something saying yes, no.
We'll figure something out.
So, I'm sorry, what do you ask for? Another meeting like was?
Well, actually, I did ask for that as well.
Yes, within the 6 months.
I actually asked for, I had sent an email about another hearing like we had last week, because there was a lot of people that were out of town. I know for a fact, at least 25 people that I know of that were out of
You're asking
town.
for two different things though, correct?
Two different things, there's two different things.
It's not watered down. This is
So-
an investigation.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The first one is a formal hearing into Fenimore, and we get a court stenographer in and actually have a public record of this entire thing.
We have a
Yeah, that's already there.
This is the public
Not with a
record.
court stenographer,
Well, not with the stenographer, but it's still.
and let people come in, I mean, like a truly formal hearing, like you would in a courtroom, except it would be here or in some other public place where everybody could come and do that. Excuse me?
It's a public meeting. Public meetings. How is that different than what we do here every Tuesday?
Because it would be dedicated just for Fenimore versus this is
We had one
a
last
council
week.
meeting, which has a lot of other things going on. So,
See, that's-
and you guys can discuss that. And the second piece was to have another meeting like you guys did with the experts there, because there was a lot of people away, and I know you didn't know that, you know, it was spring break week, but there was a lot of people away. It was also Passover that night as well, and it was tax day. So, I mean, it was kind of a triple whammy there that night. And considering all that, we had a lot of people there. It was over 150 people there. But I know there was a lot of people that didn't have a chance to participate. So I ask you to consider that.
That's a big undertaking. We've availed ourselves to, and I saw Chris's comments, and I'm sure you guys have posted as well. But we put all documentation online, including the slideshow that Mr. Rath's reviewed. The professional reports. I'm sure you guys have a YouTube video of the Q&A up. And, well, not Q&A part, but the hard copies of the other stuff. So I'm trying to think of what's not available to them, plus Mr. Rath's availed himself to residents if they had individual questions.
And I believe also, Amy, that they can actually ask for a audio disc as well too.
So I think the information's out there, because that is a big undertaking to take.
So you're saying it's already out there, so
I'll
you're not
bounce
going to do it?
I'll bounce it to council, but I personally don't see the need for it at this point.
And the last piece is, you know, with the Environmental Commission, I know you didn't renew my term. And it's the first really time I spoke out about it, even though I was with the commission for 8 years and did a lot of work for it. You know, I brought up Fenimore, as Marty knows, probably every single meeting for the last 2 years, and the commission really didn't do a lot other than what Trish and what Marty has done here on the council, and Trish giving her expert opinion. So I want to put that on record that, you know, the commission, I thought, could have done a lot more in terms of outreach, education, and so forth, and we never did that.
I'm unaware of that as a member of the commission.
Just saying it as it is, because I've been saying it for 2 years now, so. And I'm disappointed that you didn't do that and renew my term, because I put a lot of heart and soul into the commission and did a lot of work for this town, and I thought it was a slap in the face, and I just want to
Well, I
know that.
apologize you feel that way, though.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Hi, Brenda Isherwood, Univers Avenue, Southampton. I have a comment in regards to Mr. Riley's statement about how the town, the county, and the government don't have the money to take care of the dump, but yet the DEP does. Well, I can email it to you all, but on Thursday of last week, on the 17th, News 12 had a report, Walt Payne, on Soil Safe. And basically it stated that New Jersey DEP was not doing background checks, they were violating the rules of awarding environmental remediation, putting tax burdens on residents by letting politically connected firms operate for years under a self-guarantee, meaning they basically said they had money, but they didn't have to prove it. So I can send that to you, so I think
And
that...
by the way, it was more of a, when Bob and I were, Bill and I were talking, sorry, it was more of a general, funding, available funding source. Doesn't mean we can't go try to find additional funding sources like he pointed out with Sandy or something like that.
But you had
I
said
talked about things like, if it, under Superfund, look how many Superfund sites in the state of New Jersey have been sitting untouched, and, for many, many years. So available fundings federally, generally speaking, is very difficult. Doesn't mean funds can't be found, but generally speaking, the person that's obligated to fix it right now has funds. So that's all, I guess,
If it's
sometimes
difficult...
we're better off saying nothing, and then we get yelled at for saying nothing.
I'm not
So-
yelling at it. I'm not yelling at anybody, so I
Just from a general perspective, the municipality doesn't have the funds, the county doesn't have the funds to do it. So if you
Well,
work
there's
bottom up
plenty of
and top
money
down.
being spent other ways that maybe, when times get tough, sometimes you gotta buckle down and decide what's most...
Municipal?
No, in general, in principle, you have to buckle down and decide what's most important in life. But in any case, I don't think we can trust New Jersey or the DEP will have the funds to take care of things. And you stated that you are acting on behalf of the township previously, when speaking, I believe it was to Bill. But if, I don't understand
Speaking
why
on
you...
behalf of the township for what? Because usually I clarify not speaking on behalf of
I
the
just noted it down. I wasn't able to write down the whole thing and what you were saying, but you just said it a person or two ago. But in any case, I don't know, why don't you back the majority of the residents, and I'm speaking to the whole town council that was elected by the residents, why don't you back the majority of the residents and look and fight and make sure we get all of the information and are fully informed before you make a decision. Because you know what, if you have our back, we'll definitely have your back, and there's strength in numbers. And I really wish that you would continue working with us. It seems like we are butting heads when I thought we were supposed to be more of a team. We're from the same town, we're all living with this same problem. And I think you should get all of the information, which we definitely don't have, and maybe if we all work together, strengthen numbers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, just to be clear, I never say I speak on behalf of the township unless it's
You said act, but okay.
act.
I wrote act on behalf of the township. I think it was...
Oh, you're talking about the Highlands.
Right.
Oh, I
right.
cannot act, I can't,
But I'm asking you in that same sense.
oh, I can't, yeah,
Work with
I can't
us.
speak for the
I
council,
understand.
this township council, not the Highlands Council. I can't make decisions on the Highlands Council side with anything to deal with Roxbury Township or Fenimore.
I understand that.
But the other way, from this side of the desk, from the Township Council, I can act, or at least be vocal. I can't speak for them, but I can be vocal
That's what
about
I'm
it
asking
towards
you
the
all to
Highlands.
do.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just wanted,
Act on behalf of the
I
township.
just wanted to.
And let's all have each other's back, and let's all work for the same common goal. Because the majority of the residents believe and want it trucked out. We don't have full information, and there's at least one person, and I know you all probably won't say exactly how you voted, but it would be nice to know exactly how you all voted one day. On your decision to agree to have it happen when you made your statement.
Oh, it's up to each individual.
Correct.
I made
I
my
understand
statement.
that, thank you.
Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? You've already spoken, Ms. Castriata, so we'll close the public portion.
I can't speak again? Why not? Why can't I
That
comment
brings us to
again?
executive
Are you
session.
kidding me? Okay. Huh?
No,
Well, that's your man, that's your council.
Fenimore too?
Um,
First personnel matter.
I wanted to know if that statement he
That's
made
not working
last
together.
at the special meeting was given to the DEP and/or the
It's like
governor.
children fighting.
A resolution of Township Council of Township of Roxbury,
No.
County of